Good morning, students. Sairam. How are you all? I hope you all are fine and doing well in your studies. So, student, welcome you again in our next session of online classes, and we are continuing our chapter, which is directing. So, this is the last video of this chapter number 7, directing part 3rd. We have already learned about what is directing, what are the characteristics of directing, and what are the elements of directing. So the elements of directing are: number 1 is supervision, second motivation, third leadership, and fourth is communication. Supervision and motivation we have already done, and we are continuing leadership. So leadership, the meaning of leadership, what are the importance of leadership, and what are the good quality of a good leader, we have already done. Now we will going to start the next topic of leadership, which is style of leadership. So students, style of leadership is divided into three parts. Number 1 is autocratic, second democratic, and third one is laissez-faire, or we can say that free reign leadership style. Let's discuss one by one. So first one is autocratic. As you seen in that picture, autocratic means there is a one leader, and there are six their subordinates like A, B, C, D, E, and F. So students, here the leader, in autocratic leadership, one leader who guide, who gives instructions, who give orders, and all his followers have to adopt his technique, have to follow their instruction without interrupting. So what is this? This is autocratic, means there is no involvement of employees, means employees suggestions are not acceptable in this type of leadership. Let's clear this. Like, under this style, power, decision making are centralized. Centralized means power in a one hand. So students, in autocratic style, the power is the power of taking decision, power of leading is in a one hand only. And who is the one hand? Leader. Okay, so its features are: number 1, leader make all the decision. If the power is in the one hand only, then all the decision, who takes all the decision? Leader. They order, the leader order what to do, how to do, when to do, and for whom to do, and all their subordinates or the followers have to do the tasks according to that and follow all the orders. Now second point is, leader have fully authority, so they demand full obedience. They give reward and punishment as they like. Here in autocratic leadership style, leader have the power, have the authority, and so what he expect? Obedience, full devotion, full efficiency, full obedience from their followers or from his subordinates. So, and he also give them reward and punishment as they like. Now next one is, information is controlled by the leader. All the information which is given to their employees is controlled, fully controlled by the leader. There is no involvement or interruption from the side of their subordinate. So what is the autocratic style? Autocratic style means when the power is in a one hand, and who is that person? Leader. and all their followers and subordinates has to fill all the demands, orders of the leader, so that it is called autocratic leadership. Students, in autocratic leadership there are some advantages as well as some disadvantages. Okay, if there is a autocratic style, means all the decision taking power is in the hand of leader. So what are their advantages and what are their disadvantages? Advantages are like, number 1, effective in crisis and emergency situation. This type of autocratic style is very effective when there is a situation of crisis, emergency situation, so that the leader take the prompt decision and help to continue their work and help them to fulfill the organizational goal. Second point, what are the another advantage of autocratic style? Second is, chain of command is clearly and understandable. If all the information is given by the one leader, so there is no confusion, and the chain of command is also clear. The leader give command to their followers and followers have to fulfill their demands and his order. Okay, so we can say that in autocratic style there is a clear chain of command and clearly understandable by their followers. So now, if there is an autocratic style, if the command is very clear, it is also understandable, then it is very helpful in maintaining discipline in an organization as well in the work. So we can say that due to these situations or due to these points, autocratic style is very advantageous. So students, why it is where it is very advantageous? When if there is a crisis, any emergency, or if the employees are not well trained as their project want, then they are fully dependent on their leader, and leader have to give instruction, and the followers have to follow all the instruction of their leader. Okay, students, if there is a advantage of autocratic style, then their advantages or disadvantages are also there. Like, number 1, subordinates participation in decision making power is fully ignored. Students, if the style of leadership is autocratic, means all the information, all the decision taking power is only in the hand of one person, one leader. So the participation in the decision, if the leader if the subordinate have any problem, have any suggestion for the betterment of their organization, for the betterment of their work, and if he want to take initiative, but his initiative is fully ignored if the organization is following autocratic style, because their suggestions, their demands, their initiative is fully ignored in this type of autocratic. So due to this disadvantage, it is not profitable in some situations. Second point is, it does not motivate employees. How the employee get motivated? If their suggestions are invited by the leader, by the manager, they feel motivated. They feel motivated. Why? If the employer or the leader invite their suggestion and praise them, if he like their suggestion, then he give them a reward or praise them for their work, then the employee feel motivated. But there is no situation of motivation because their initiative is not acceptable by the leader. Next point is, employee work by fear of punishment. In autocratic style, employee work not by their willingness. It is in many areas they work due to the fear of punishment. Okay, so it is also a disadvantage of autocratic style. Next one is, it does not consider situational need. If there is a situation, which um, need the dynamic change and the change in work schedule due to any reason of employee, but it is not acceptable because autocratic leader plan everything and work according to that. Okay students, so these are the disadvantages of autocratic style. Now next style is democratic style. Democratic means independent. Here the leader is not autocratic. Here all the subordinates have the right to ask something, to give their suggestions to their leader, and leader also invite their suggestion and also praise their initiative. So what is this? This is democratic involvement leadership style, where the involvement of employee is also considered. Now let's discuss and explain in a brief. It also called participatory leadership style. Look students, democratic leadership style is also known as participatory. Why it is called participatory? Because all the applicants, look in that picture. Wait, like in that picture, leader gives instruction to the employees, and employees are A, B, C, D, E, F, and employees are also give instruction to their, not instruction, also gives their suggestion to the employees, to the employer or to the leader, and leader also invite their suggestion. So what is this? Why it is called participatory? Because all are participants in the decision making and in the information and initiative. So under this style, power in decision making is decentralized. Decentralized means distribution of power. Here the leader distribute his power to the subordinates, means delegate their power to the subordinate, and subordinate is also having some little power to take decision at the time of work. Okay, now its features are: number 1, leader consult with subordinate about decision. First important feature is leader consult with their subordinates about what? About their decision, about the decision of work. They ask their subordinates if they are agree to this or not. If they want to add some point to this, then they appreciate it and they fully invite it. Second one is authorities delegate to subordinate. Look student, in democratic style there is a decentralization of power, means distribution of power. So the little authorities are transferred from the leader to their subordinates, so that they take their decision independently. Next is influence flow both upward and down way, means the flow of information, flow of communication also flows upward and downward also. Means upward means subordinates communicate with their leader up in upward, and leader also communicate with their or passes their information downward. So this is the passing of information, passing of their initiative, passing of their ideas upward and downward in both directions. Now next one is performance based reward and punishment. So student, in democratic style, rewards and punishment is also there but on the basis of their performance. Next one is information is shared between leader and subordinates. Here the information is shared, not deliver, not del- um, not like a order to their subordinates. Here the information is shared between them. So students, I hope you all have understand what is democratic style. So like the autocratic style, democratic style is also having some advantages and some disadvantages. Number one advantage is the subordinate involved in decision making, she promotes participation. Means students, as I said, in democratic style, they also involved in decision making and who subordinates, so they feel motivated, okay, and also promoted their participation, means their initiative is always promoted. Next one is effective where teamwork is needed. Democratic style is very effective and when we need a teamwork in an organization, so it is very important if we are doing a teamwork. So next one is result in high morale and productivity. People feel committed to goal. Here there is no fear of doing work. In democratic style, they are free. They feel committed to achieve the goal. They get high morale and they produce the product. Their efficiency is also increasing and their efficiency is also productive. So if they feel happy, if they feel committed to their goal, if they feel motivated, then their work productivity is also increases due to their morale. Now next one is motivates subordinates. As I said, democratic style motivates the subordinates. Next one is provide opportunities for development and growth of subordinates. It gives the opportunity of their development and growth of subordinate. How? If the authority is being distributed among the subordinate, so they have a power to take decision at that time, and so that their development and their growth of using the power, how they use their power, they get the experience of that, the experience of leadership. How? Because the leader distribute his authority to their employees, so that leader also their subordinates is also experience the power of leadership. Next one is it creates creativity in subordinates. If they feel free to talk, to communicate, feel free to take initiative, then it their creativity is also increases. Means it is very helpful in creating the creativity among them. Okay students, so these are the advantages of democratic style. Now there are two disadvantages of democratic style. Number one is it is a time consuming process as compared to autocratic. Look, if there is a autocratic style, then the leader quickly take decision without consulting anybody. But now if there is a democratic style, then the leader consult with their employees and ask them for their suggestion, so it takes time to take decision, so it may be time consuming. Now it can result in discipline. As compared to autocratic style, it maybe sometime it results in discipline due to having the power of decision making, which is given by the leader, and become over friendly with leader. The fear of work is also absence there due to this. So these 2 points are the disadvantages of democratic style. I hope you all have understood. Now next part is Laissez-faire style. Next one is laissez-faire style, which is also called free rein style. In this style, look as in the picture, leader communicate, give instruction to A to C, and C, B, E, E to F, F to G, E to C, C to F. There is no chain of communication, there is no discipline. All the subordinates are free to take their decision. Means the communication is also not proper in this style. So laissez-faire style is basically based on that the employees are free to take decision, employees are having authority, and leader are having a little interference in their decisions. Let's discuss in detail laissez-faire or let do leader. In this style, the power decision making is entrusted to subordinates. Means all the decision power taking power, which is decision making, is given to the subordinate, is mostly given to the subordinates, and its features are like leader are very little power of control. Here in this style, leader is having little power or little control over their subordinates and on their work. They feel free and let them do whatever they want to do according to their suggestion, according to their way of doing work. So second feature is subordinates have complete freedom to make decision with decentralized authority and responsibility. They are independent to make decision. Look student, here responsibility is also decentralized with the authority. Means here the leader free of responsibility and free of authority. He give full authority and full responsibility to their employees, and he is fully responsible on their employees. So they are independent to make decision. Who are independent to make decision? All their employees. Their employees feel free to take decision and independent to make any decision, so that the subordinates set their own path of doing a work. Now their advantages and disadvantages are: number one, first advantage is subordinates have freedom and autonomy so that they set their own goal. Here, when the power and responsibility is being distributed and they are free to take their decision, so the they feel free and they also set their own goals. Okay, so this is the advantages of laissez-faire. How it is being an advantage? They don't need to tell they only inform their leader, and leader expect that their work they do their work in a better way. Means he shows he shows the trust on them. Okay, so subordinate have freedom and autonomy, so they set their own goals, whether it is for the achievement of that project only or for the organizational goal. Next one is effective for creative or research oriented job. Laissez-faire is very effective. This style of leadership is very effective when the job is related to research oriented, because they don't need to ask again and again about any research to their leader, so that they can research independently and take their decision at that time, and also responsible for everything. Next is employees will have high morale. in this situation, if they having the power to do anything, having the responsibility, so they feel high high in morale. Next one is disadvantages. Now some disadvantages of laissez-faire style: subordinates lack focuses toward goal. Sometimes in laissez-faire style, subordinate focuses only their personal goal, for achieving their personal goal, so that they are not able to focuses toward the organizational goal. Means they give more priority to their personal or individual goal rather than the organizational goal. Next one is it hampers productivity. Look students, if they are free to work, so it also affects their productivity and efficiency, and due to their freedom, there is a poor coordination and direction. Okay students, so these are the disadvantages of laissez-faire style. Now leadership has completed. Now our next element of direction is communication. As you seen in that picture, one lady communicate to the two persons, and two men are communicate to someone else. Means there is a situation of communication which shows in that picture. Now what is the communication? As you all know, communication is a process by which the information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. Means it is the interchanging of the thoughts, opinion, information by speech, by writing, or by signs. Okay. Now what are the process of communication? Look students, this is a very important part of this chapter, communication. So the process of communication start from the sender, then encoding, then message or media used, then decoding, then receiver, then response, then feedback, and then stop to the sender. And there is also a noise between them in the process of communication. Let's take an example to understand this process. Look student, if I am a sender, okay, suppose I am a sender and I thought something to deliver any message to you students. So I convert my thought into a message. I thought that I have to taught that type of topic. I have to give these example in the video. So message encoding means conversion of message into the meaning into the meaningful sentences, meaningful signs, meaningful words. So what is encoding? Encoding means conversion of thought into the message, whether it is a written or oral. So first sender, I encode my message, okay, and then transfer through any media. Like if I am giving you online classes, then I encode my thoughts, my views in form of video. Okay, so video is my message, and I use the media which is internet. Okay, and then transfer to you by the internet, by the YouTube channel. Then receiver, and who are the receivers? You all are the receivers. You decode these message. Decode means to understand what I am trying to say. It is decoding. means conversion of this message into a meaningful words. Means encoding means when a receiver receives message and trying to understand what the sender wants to say is called decoding. And after receiving the message, he responds and give feedback whether he understand what I'm trying to say or not. He send a feedback to me, back to me, and who I am, a sender. So what is this? This is whole the process of communication. But if there is any disturbance like buffering, poor connection of connectivity, so these are also known as noise, means which interrupt our communication process. I hope you all are understood. The communication process start from a sender, and who are the sender? Like me, I am the sender. I encode my thoughts into my messages and send my message to through the media by using any media, like I am using the internet, YouTube channel. And then the receiver, means you all are the receiver, receive my message and encode, means convert my message into the meaningful words, means trying to understand what I am trying to say. And then you respond or give feedback back to me. So what is this? This is whole is the process of communication. If there is any voice, like the drilling voice coming in between the video, or there is a buffering, there is a poor connectivity which interrupt my process of communication. So what is this? This is a noise which may be present in the communication process. Understood? So student, next is elements of communication. Who are the elements? Number one, communicator. The communicator, who is the communicator? Sender, who wants to convey the message. So I want to communicate, I want to send a message, means I'm the communicator. And what is message? Means the subject matter of communication, means which I want to communicate is the message. Communication symbol, the words, the sign, like if I send a written mail to anybody and I use emojis, okay, this, what is this? This is a sign. So which he feel will communicate to intend receiver or receivers. So communication symbol, I hope you understand. Next is communication channel. What are the channel through which I pass my message? Any media, like internet, like message, any text, like through WhatsApp, through YouTube channel, through Gmail, any media, through mobile phone, through landline, through writing a letter. Okay. Next one is communication receiver. Who are the receiver? The person who receives the message is called receiver. Next is response. What is response? The set of reactions that the receiver has after being exposed to the message. Response means the response. What is the reaction when he received the message, and who? The receiver. And if he want to communicate back to the sender, then what is this? This is called feedback. And noise, unplanned or static or distortion or any disturbance which create between the process of communication. Now next is type of communication. Look students, communication is also divided into two parts, formal and informal. Formal communication, like if we talk in an organization as a by using a scalar chain, then it is a formal communication. Informal, if we talk with our friend, so what is this? This is a informal communication. Now there is a difference between formal and informal communication. Number one, formal communication structure is deliberately organized. Means if we want to communicate, if we want to transfer my message to anybody, then I want to or or if I work in a organization, so I want I need to follow the chain of communication. So I deliberately plan or organize that structure. If I want to talk to my friend, then I spontaneously talk to that person, means it is unstructured. Next, nature. Well planned, systematic and authorized, means if we talk officially, then it is well planned, systematic and authorized. If we talk to my friend, then it is unplanned, unsystematic and unauthorized. Next, flow. Prescribed through a flow of chain, whether it is a upward or downward. And here the flow is unofficial channel. So now, flexibility. What is the as you all know, formal communication is very rigid, because we have to follow the scalar chain, but there is no chain of communication. We talk and anybody which I want to talk, then it is a very flexible in informal communication. Now, authority, official channel, and informal organization, it is unofficial. Next one is response. What is the response? Wait. Here, purpose. Its purpose is to achieve the organizational or business objective, and its purpose is to satisfy the personal need. Why we talk in an or communicate anything in office? To fulfill the organizational objective, and informal way, we only satisfy our personal need. If we talk to my friend, then we share our feelings, so we satisfy our personal need. So students, which is speedy, informal or formal? Informal. If I talk to that, if I send any message to that person, then immediately he transfer to the another person, then it is very speedy to transfer the information or any message. But in a formal organization, we have to follow the scalar chain, so it is not speedy, it is time taking. Next one is accuracy. Formal communication is very accurate, legal and authentic, but here in informal communication, there may be a rumors, gossips and other distorted message may be there. Now, formal communication is oral as well as written, and in informal communication, it always or usually in an oral way. Now, source can be traced, and its source cannot be traced. Okay, because how we traced in a formal communication, that we know the scalar chain, that this person send this message to that and that person send this message to that. But in informal communication, nobody knows that who sent to that what message and what messages passes to that person. So there is a grapevine, like a grapevine communication. So next is, now student, this is the last topic, which is the channel of communication. So students, the channel of communication is also divided into two parts, formal and informal. Informal means informal are having three channel, and formal is informal is only one. As I said, like a grapevine. What is grapevine? As you all know now, what is grapevine? Very messy and confusing. So the structure of informal or channel of informal is also very messy and very confusing. Now, in a formal communication, there is a vertical, horizontal and diagonal. Vertical, like if a higher person, if a manager wants to communicate to his superior, to the general manager, to the CEO, then he passes communication to in a vertical direction. Okay, And if general manager or a CEO wants to pass information to the manager or to the lower level, so it is also communicate like this type of way. And horizontal, how horizontal? If the manager of two same level, um, if there is two departments, financial department and sales department, and the same level manager talk to each other, then what is this is horizontal. And diagonal, if the manager of that department, financial department, wants to talk to the supervisor of sale department, look, there is a what is this diagonal says that it is on a middle level and it is on a lower level. So if the upper level or the middle level wants to talk to the lower level of different department, so what is this is diagonal. Okay, I hope you all have understand. So students, this chapter has completed. I will give you the PDF of case studies up to these 7 chapter. So try to solve all the case studies and please give a feedback to me and ask something if you are having a problem, if you are having any um, problem in any topic or in any case studies. Okay, thank you. Sairam.